Schwinn IC4 versus Peloton. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the Schwinn IC4 head-to-head against the Peloton Bike Plus and compare the similarities and differences in these two bikes. And yes, this is somewhat a apples to oranges comparison in a way, because we are comparing a bike that I bought on Amazon for $899 to a bike that cost almost $2,500. Also, before we dive in and really examine the differences and similarities of these two indoor cycling bikes, I would like to point out there is a table of contents or chapters along the play bar and in the description box. So if you want to skip ahead or move around in this video for something in particular, you can go to the chapters and navigate your way around, because this video will be pretty in-depth and kind of long. So do what you need to do. If you want a full Peloton Bike Plus review, I have a separate video on that, so you can browse my channel and find that video. And I will be doing a more in-depth Schwinn IC4 review. But the point of this video is just to do a side-by-side comparison, showing the similarities and differences, and maybe help you decide which bike is for you. You might also notice that there is a Echelon Connect Prime in the background, and I will be doing a comparison of that bike up against the Schwinn IC4 later. And by the time you're watching this video, that might already be on my channel, so you can take a look if that's what you're interested in. I would also like to point out there is a link in the description box to buy the Schwinn IC4 if you decide that is the bike for you and you would like to buy it on Amazon. And that's where I bought the Schwinn IC4. I bought it on Amazon and it shipped to me for free with my Amazon Prime membership, and it arrived in about 2 days, and the crew brought it right up to my door, so I didn't have to lug it all the way up the stairs or anything crazy like that. And if you do decide to buy the Schwinn IC4 on Amazon, through the link in the description box, that will help support this channel, so I would greatly appreciate it if you did click that link and buy your Schwinn IC4 through that link if you decide this is the bike you want to buy. Now, from a distance, both of these bikes, and a lot of these bikes on the market, all look very similar. These two bikes have a dark frame, although you can see the Schwinn IC4 is not black. It is actually more of a gray or gunmetal kind of look to it, where the Peloton Bike Plus and the Peloton bike, the standard bike as well, has a black frame. And on the Peloton bike, you can see there is the gunmetal-y, kind of shiny looking Peloton lettering on the Bike Plus, which is how you can differentiate the Bike Plus from the standard Peloton bike. Over here on the Schwinn, there's no lettering there. However, they have the Schwinn IC4 logo right there on the front fork of the bike. Some of the other similarities is both of these bikes are belt driven. They both have magnetic resistance, and they both have some sort of monitor for feedback that comes directly on the bike. The Schwinn IC4 here does not have as beautiful of a display or as big of a display as the Peloton Bike Plus. However, I mean, you're looking at a bike that costs $899 at the time of this recording versus a bike that cost over $2,000. So the screen on the Schwinn basically gives you your cadence up there at the top, your rotations per minute of the pedals, and you also get your resistance level. If I turn the pedals there a little bit, the numbers pop right up. And both of these bikes, the Schwinn IC4 as well as the Peloton, have a resistance from 0 to 100. So it's 100 right now, and I'm cranking it down. And basically what I found is one turn of this moves it down about 25 resistance levels. So if I crank it, the last rotation brings me to 0. 2 cranks up will bring it to about 50 resistance. 2 more will bring it to 100. As you notice the bike in the background there, the Echelon Connect Sport, which we'll be doing a head-to-head comparison with the Schwinn IC4 in the near future, or it might already be up. That bike goes from 0 to 32. This bike, 0 to 100, as well as the Peloton, 0 to 100. So it's much more intuitive if you want to do a Peloton ride, which leads me into another point here. If you want to do the Peloton rides here on the Peloton Bike Plus, you have the big screen here, and this gives you everything. All of your metrics, everything. On the Schwinn, you basically need to bring your own tablet so you can pull up the Peloton app. So what you do is you would just pull up the Peloton app on your tablet, and it's not quite as seamless as on the Peloton Bike Plus with the huge screen right there with everything integrated. But what are you gonna do for that price difference where you just have to bring your own tablet? And I should also mention, when you do bring your own tablet here, you sign up for the Peloton digital app, which is $12.99 a month, compared to the Peloton Bike Plus. You do the all-inclusive membership, and that costs about $39 per month. Some other similarities of these two bikes are they both have the flywheel on the front of the bike, and the flywheel is exposed on both of the bikes as well. In the background there, you could notice the Echelon Connect Sport has its flywheel encased in a plastic housing. You can see the magnetic resistance right there on the Schwinn IC4, and over there on the Peloton Bike Plus, the magnetic resistance is in the same place, also with red calipers. Both of these bikes have 2 water bottle holders, dual water bottle holders, right up in the front. The Peloton Bike Plus has it just like that, and the water bottles would be facing forwards, whereas over here on the Schwinn IC4, the water bottles face towards you, but both of the water bottle holders are on the front of the bike. They both have a place to store some weights. The Peloton Bike Plus has a place on the back of the bike to store the weights, whereas the Schwinn IC4 has the weights in the front. And I will say, one difference that kind of works out for the Schwinn IC4 is if you want to move this bike, and you can keep the weights on there and the water bottles on there, and you could rotate the whole thing up, and the weights will not fall out due to the way they're mounted. But if you do that on the Peloton Bike Plus, these weights tend to dump out forward, and that actually happened to me one time while moving the Peloton Bike Plus. Taking a look at the adjustments, both of these bikes, the Schwinn IC4 as well as the Peloton Bike Plus, have very similar adjustments except for one key thing, which I'll tell you more about in just a moment. But both of the bikes have the ability to move the seat forwards and backwards. The Schwinn IC4, you just loosen that up and you can move it forwards and backwards. And you can also adjust the seat up and down, the tilt of the seat, by adjusting that bolt. So same exact thing over here on the Peloton Bike Plus. It's slightly easier to operate this lever to move this seat forwards and backwards, but it's the same principle, and you can adjust the tilt as well just by loosening that bolt. Both of the seats go up and down as well. The Peloton Bike Plus has these soft touch, nice knobs here, as well as there's no hole for the knob to click into. So the seat has basically like an infinite amount of adjustments. You can fine tune it down to the millimeter. Over here on the Schwinn IC4, there is an actual hole for this knob to click into, so you don't get quite the same amount of adjustability in terms of really getting down to the millimeter in terms of adjusting the seat. The handlebars is really where these bikes start to become different, and the Schwinn IC4 might have a little bit of an edge over the Peloton Bike Plus in this category. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these weights so you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about here. But let's go here for starters and show you the Schwinn IC4 has the ability to move the handlebars forwards and backwards, which is not the case for the Peloton Bike Plus or the standard Peloton bike, and not on the Echelon Connect Prime either. These bikes all have their handlebars locked into place when it comes to forwards and backwards. The Schwinn IC4, you can loosen up this knob and they slide forwards and backwards. And you get a good amount of adjustment there, so you can really just get the proper fit on your bike by moving the seat forwards and backwards so you can get your knees aligned properly where they need to be. And then you can also get the proper reach by moving the handlebars forwards and backwards on the Schwinn IC4. Over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, this is locked in place. So wherever they are, that's where they are. On the Schwinn IC4, you can raise and lower the handlebars, and in contrast to the seat where it has these holes that you have to click in to a particular slot, the handlebars on the Schwinn IC4 can go up and down as much as you would like to, down to the millimeter. So you can really fine tune how high or how low the handlebars are. On the Peloton Bike Plus, this is the exact same thing. There is no hole for this knob to click into, so you can also fine tune the handlebars down to the millimeter. Both the Peloton Bike Plus and the Schwinn IC4 come with pedals that you can clip into. So the Schwinn IC4 actually comes with a dual-sided pedal. One side has cages, so you don't need any kind of special shoe to ride the Schwinn IC4. On the other side, you have an SPD clip, so you can clip in with a normal SPD style shoe. This is what the SPD style clip-in looks like. So on this side, you can clip in, and this side, if you don't have clip-in shoes, you can just ride the Schwinn IC4 just like a normal bike. The Peloton Bike Plus comes with Delta style clips, so you can use the Peloton shoes with the standard Delta style clip there, or you could use any other kind of cycling shoes that come with a Delta cleat. On the other side, you could theoretically use cages, but it's really just not the preferred way to do it. The platform of this pedal really just isn't big enough to ride comfortably in normal shoes with cages. Another thing I noticed about the Schwinn IC4 is it appears to have some sort of adjustment here to tighten up the drivetrain if the belt gets loose or if it needs some sort of adjustment. You can easily do that with this exposed adjustment piece here. Over on the Peloton Bike Plus, this does not appear to be the same. It doesn't appear that you can easily adjust in the case you needed to if the belt got loose or something. Now we're going to take a closer look at the drivetrains of these two bikes. Specifically, we're going to look at the flywheel size and the chainstay, the distance from the center of the flywheel to the center of the crank on each of these bikes. So starting with the Schwinn, well, before we even really look at either of these two, we can see in general they have a very, very similar flywheel. There is a mass here on each of them, and the radius is pretty close to the same on each of the bikes. So you can see here on the Peloton Bike Plus, there's a big mass right here, and then you can see like the bolts and stuff. Very, very similar look on each bike. So looking at the diameter of the Schwinn IC4 flywheel, it's about 9 inches. I'll move the camera over, line it up. Over here on the Peloton, it's a very similar situation. And we'll take a look at the chainstay of the Peloton Bike Plus, which is basically the center of the flywheel over to the center of the crank here. And that is right around 20.25 on the Peloton Bike Plus. And in general, a longer chainstay results in a more stable, smooth, more consistent power output, whereas a shorter chainstay, as we'll see over here, on the Schwinn, the shorter chainstay results in a snappier, quicker kind of feel while riding. So from the center of the Schwinn IC4 up to the center of the flywheel is about 17.5. So the chainstay of the Peloton Bike Plus is kind of substantially longer. So the Peloton Bike Plus in general is kind of set up to be more of a more smooth power output because of the longer chainstay. Another similar yet different thing about the Schwinn IC4 and the Peloton Bike Plus is each of these bikes have feet on the bottom that can be adjusted. On the Peloton Bike Plus, you just need to get down there and turn them. So if your floor is not level, you can turn the feet to make it level. On the Schwinn, the feet on the bottom, I can't really show you right now, but they're not quite as nice as the feet on the bottom of the Peloton Bike Plus or the Echelon Connect Prime, but they work. However, where the Schwinn does excel is it has these nice little turn things on the side, so you can really easily adjust the feet on the bottom of the bike. Where on the Peloton and the Echelon, it's kind of just more difficult. Now, obviously this is not that important of a thing. You're probably just gonna be setting your bike up and getting it level once, and that'll be the end of it. However, this is a comparison video, so I do wanna show that the adjustment knobs for the Schwinn IC4 bike are different. One thing that is similar on the Schwinn IC4 and the Peloton Bike Plus, and pretty much all bikes, are it has these rolly wheels on the front, so you can theoretically pretty easily just slide the whole thing, rotate the whole thing forward and move it to where you need to. Peloton Bike Plus has nicer rolly wheels on the front for sure. They look more like a rollerblade wheel. However, this Peloton Bike Plus is fairly difficult to move because the screen up there in the front is kind of in the way to move it. And also, the Peloton Bike Plus is very heavy. The Schwinn IC4 is not light, but in comparison to the Peloton Bike Plus, the Schwinn IC4 is much lighter. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of hop on both bikes and compare how the drivetrain feels from one bike to the other, and kind of comment on the max resistance of the Schwinn IC4 versus the max resistance of the Peloton Bike Plus, and just really kind of how they feel. And then I'll also show like the seat adjustment heights, what is like the max height, min height for like the handlebars on each of the bikes. And I can tell you right up front, the Peloton Bike Plus, if you're really tall, the Peloton Bike Plus is probably going to fit you better. I'm 6'5", and I would say at 6'5", I pretty much maxed out the height of the Schwinn IC4 as well, as the Echelon Connect Prime. If you have questions about height, leave me a comment in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer what I can. But the Peloton Bike Plus seat goes much, much higher. Now what I'm gonna do is just hop on here on the Schwinn IC4 and I'm gonna just lower the seat down and raise it up and kind of show you where the max height and min height are of the bike. So let's drop the handlebars all the way down right away here first. Make sure I have it locked. So right now the handlebars are pretty much on the max height, but I'll drop them down to the lowest and also the lowest seat setting. So here's everything on its lowest. I'm 6'5". Obviously this is way, way, way too low for me. And I'll move the handlebars back all the way towards me as well. So this is basically the bike at its most minimum settings. Handlebars are all the way down and all the way towards me, and the seat is also lower at its lowest position. So now I'll go ahead and extend the seat up to its max height. There's a little stop sign there for you. And you want to just tighten this up so it doesn't wobble on you. Also, you can move this seat forwards and backwards. I've got it locked in there, kind of more towards the front. And now the handlebars are all the way at their max height with the seat at the max height as well. And you can see my leg is probably about the right extension. I really wouldn't want it to extend any farther than that. But I would say if you're taller than 6'5", you would definitely be pushing the max height of this bike. The handlebars are still all the way towards me, but I'll go ahead and extend them out to the farthest they go. So this is a pretty aggressive riding position compared to most other indoor cycling bikes I've been on. This really puts me really far forward. So, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to this. When you're this far forward, you can really get a lot more of your weight down over your legs while you're still in the saddle and put a lot more power into the pedal. The disadvantage is it can be a little bit strenuous on your neck and upper back, supporting your head while leaned over this far. And for cycling outdoors, aerodynamic is good, so you can cut through the air. When you're stationary cycling, there really is no need for an aerodynamic position unless maybe you're training to ride outdoors. If you're training to actually like race. So out of the saddle with the handlebars all the way forward, I have plenty of knee clearance. I'm not going to hit my knees on the handlebars. However, if I take a water bottle and put it there, it is kind of, it does stick a little forward, so you can kind of hit your knee on the water bottle at my height. So you might want to set it like that. As comparison, over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, the seat has a much higher max height. So it says stop there. This is the max you should put the seat at over here on the Peloton Bike Plus. And just go ahead, if I just hop on there, you can see on the Peloton Bike Plus, I mean, my leg is much more extended. So this bike is much more suitable for a person who is like you're 6'5", 6'6", or taller. The Peloton Bike Plus seat can also go way down. So it goes way down, pretty much as low as you could possibly want it to. And the handlebars also drop down very low as well. So this is what the bike at its minimum settings. And the handlebars don't come closer to you. So if you are a smaller person, the Schwinn IC4 might fit you a little bit better in terms of getting the handlebars closer to you. And that's the max height of the handlebars. So the handlebars are at max height and the seat is probably about 80% of the way up right here. Now what I'm going to do is just compare the maximum resistance and like how the bike feels to actually ride, comparing the Peloton Bike Plus to the Schwinn IC4. So here I have the resistance on 100 here on the Peloton Bike Plus, and it is a lot of resistance. And if I crank it down, I'm down to about 32 resistance now. And I'm just kind of feeling the inertia of the flywheel. And I'm going to hop on the Schwinn IC4 and really just kind of do a side-by-side comparison of how it feels. So again, I'm not clipped in, and I won't even use the caged side of the pedals to make it as fair as I can here. And my resistance level is 44. I will say 42 is where it's at. 42 feels more difficult to pedal on the Schwinn IC4 versus what I was just doing over there on the Peloton Bike Plus. Now I have the resistance at 100. And I can tell you right away, the max resistance on the Peloton Bike Plus is quite a bit more resistance on the Peloton bike compared to the Schwinn IC4. This is a lot of resistance. However, the Peloton Bike Plus definitely has a higher max resistance. Now I'm just kind of feeling the inertia of the flywheel and the drivetrain. And the Schwinn IC4 definitely has a good amount of inertia to it. It's a very nice, it feels very nice. It's really smooth.
Is it friendly?
It's friendly. I'm gonna hop back on over here to the Peloton bike. Yeah, the max resistance on the Peloton Bike Plus is quite a bit more than the Schwinn IC4. Overall though, the Schwinn IC4 is definitely a nice piece of machinery, and at $899 versus $2,495, you're really getting quite a good bang for the buck on the Schwinn IC4. One thing I was kind of looking at was the crank arms on the Schwinn IC4 kind of seem to flare out a little bit, like away from the bike a bit, to kind of give like a wider pedaling stance. Whereas over here on the Peloton, the arms of the pedals, the crank arms, don't really flare out like that. So it just kind of seems like your knees and everything is just kind of like together a little bit closer over here on the Peloton bike versus the Echelon bike. But I really should get out the tape measure and see if that is true or just the way it feels. Really, the last kind of point I want to touch on here is the actual footprint of the two bikes. The Schwinn IC4 is a good sized bike, but it is definitely much smaller compared to the Peloton Bike Plus. The Peloton Bike Plus is gigantic. It weighs a lot, it's heavy, it's hard to move around, and it is a fine piece of machinery. The Schwinn IC4 is also a very nice bike, a fine piece of machinery. Definitely has a smaller footprint, so if size is a concern for you, the Schwinn IC4 may be the better bet if you're trying to fit it into a smaller space. As you can see here, even the width, I can get out the tape measure here in a moment, but the Schwinn IC4 appears to be a little bit possibly skinnier, but the big difference is in the length of the bike itself. So here we go, tape measure is out from the back of the bike, which the seat sticks out just a hair, maybe not even really, maybe an inch, because you can move that seat forward. The back of the seat is sticking out a bit there, but the back of this bar, you know, actually, if you lowered that seat down, due to the angle, it would bring the back bar in a bit. So let's just take a look at the bottom of this frame to the front, 38 inches there to the front, but you might want to measure out to the wheels depending on your space, be about 40.5. You can check the spec sheet for this. I'm just kind of giving you a general idea. Over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, this is at the front of the wheels. And as you can see, the Peloton Bike Plus is much larger. Extends all the way out to 48. So the footprint of the Peloton Bike Plus is much bigger. And then also the screen doesn't really hang out past those wheels really, but you definitely have that big mass up there at the top. So we'll kind of summarize, we'll kind of just take a look at the last couple things here. The handlebar shape of the Schwinn IC4 is different than the Peloton Bike Plus. These handlebars on the Schwinn have this kind of arc to them. So it's flat in terms of, like this is flat, but it angles down. And also the Schwinn IC4 has this place to kind of rest your hands on. Put your hands flat on there. It's kind of unique. It's different than the Echelon Connect Prime in that way. But you can just kind of take a look at the hand grip positions. The rubber feels nice. Also the water bottle holders have the same soft touch kind of rubber feel on them. So you have multiple hand grips. You know, you can ride here, you can ride here, and you can ride out here where they angle up. So it's nice. And also, you know, you have these grips as well. Comparing to the Peloton Bike Plus, I mean, these ones are flat, like flat across, flat this way. So you have this nice long flat bar to hold on to if that's what you want. Then you have these angles here. And also they kind of have the same thing up here on the front where they angle up. So lots of hand positions available on both bikes. They are slightly different, but they're both good. The Peloton Bike Plus handlebars are thicker, definitely have a bigger radius or diameter on the Peloton Bike Plus handlebars compared to the Schwinn IC4. Both handlebars are nice. Being 6'5" and having these giant hands, I personally prefer the Peloton Bike Plus handlebars. And we could take a sneak peek over here at the Echelon Connect Prime. These handlebars, I would have to say, are the loser of the bunch. Although they're nice, they're good handlebars, but the downside is I wish this part was flat and not like a bow, a U shape, but they're nice. So now Sabrina and I are going to do a ride. Sabrina is going to be on the Peloton Bike Plus, and I am going to ride the Schwinn IC4, and I'm gonna try out the heart rate monitor. So I guess that is another point I should bring up here is, you know, the Schwinn IC4 is really kind of like your complete package. Like, you know, you don't need to like do a lot of extra stuff. Like, it comes with a heart rate monitor, which I'm gonna test out and see. I'm gonna compare it up against the Scosche, which is what we have been using, and the Scosche is a really nice heart rate monitor. We found it to be very accurate. However, the Schwinn IC4 is like a complete package. You know, you get the clip-in pedals along with the cage style pedals on the other side, so you don't need to worry about buying clip-in pedals like we did with the Echelon Connect bike. And then it also has the screen built right into the thing that gives you your cadence and your metrics. You know, it shows you your resistance and distance traveled, calories, and your heart rate all on this screen. So you don't need to download, like for example on the Echelon bike, you would need to have your cell phone connected up via Bluetooth to get those same metrics. You can see all that in my other review dedicated to the Echelon Connect Prime. But on that bike, yes, you need to have two separate screens of your own. This one, you get your stats right here on the Schwinn screen, and then you just bring your own tablet, set it up here, and you can run the Peloton classes or free ride. You can do whatever you want. You don't even need a tablet, but that's how it works. Overall, pretty good bang for the buck. Nice piece of machinery on the Schwinn IC4. And like I said, if you want to buy, if you're convinced that the Schwinn IC4 is for you and you're ready to make a buying decision, I have a link to the Schwinn IC4 in the description box below this video. And if you buy through that link, it will help support this channel at no additional cost to you. So I'd appreciate it if you click on the link in the description box and order the Schwinn IC4 through the link down there. So if this video has been helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up, because that also really helps support this channel. And any comment you have about either of these bikes or question, leave it down in the comment section below, and I will be sure to get back to you and answer what I can. And this is little Tootie here, who does not like indoor cycling bikes. She really hates the sound of these shoes clipping in and unclipping. She likes to ride the real bikes. Well, she likes when we put her in her dog bag and take her for a ride on the beach or just ride around. That is her favorite, and I love that as well. But indoor cycling bikes is what this video is about. So anyway, click that like button if you found any value in this information. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe, click the notification bell if you want to see video comparisons between the Schwinn IC4 head-to-head compared to the Echelon Connect Prime. So more indoor cycling videos on your way soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Doing a side-by-side comparison of these two heart rate monitors.
What's up, Peloton? My name is